Why do some stories stay with you long after you've finished reading them? Why do certain books feel less like stories and more like places you've actually visited? The answer is atmosphere, and few writers mastered atmosphere better than Daphne du Maurier. Her novels don't simply tell stories. They pull readers into worlds filled with mystery, obsession, beauty, and dread. Today, we're exploring how Daphne du Maurier became one of the greatest atmospheric writers in literary history. Born in 1907 in London, Daphne du Maurier grew up surrounded by creativity. Her father was a famous actor. Her mother was an actress. And from an early age, she was immersed in storytelling. But it was Cornwall, the rugged coastline and dramatic landscapes, that would become one of her greatest inspirations. Many authors use settings. Du Maurier transformed settings into characters. In her stories, houses breathe, forests watch, coastlines threaten, and landscapes hold secrets. Readers don't simply observe her worlds. They become trapped inside them. Atmosphere is the emotional feeling a story creates. It's the mood that surrounds every scene, the invisible force shaping how readers experience a narrative. Fear, mystery, longing, suspense. Atmosphere transforms words into emotions. A great atmosphere does something powerful. It makes readers feel. Not just understand, not just observe, feel. And when readers feel emotionally connected, they become completely immersed. One of du Maurier's greatest strengths was setting. Take Cornwall. Its cliffs, its storms, its isolated villages. These locations weren't simply backgrounds. They shaped the emotions and decisions of her characters. Perhaps no location demonstrates this better than Manderley in Rebecca. Manderley isn't just a house. It's a living memory, a prison, a ghost. Every room carries emotional weight. Every hallway whispers secrets. Du Maurier understood that atmosphere begins with details. The sound of waves, the scent of damp earth, the creak of old wood. These sensory details create immersion. Readers don't just see the world. They experience it. Most writers rely on action to create suspense. Du Maurier often relied on atmosphere. A silent corridor, an approaching storm, an empty room that feels occupied. She understood that anticipation can be more frightening than revelation. One of du Maurier's recurring themes is obsession. Characters become consumed by people, memories, secrets, desires, and these obsessions slowly transform their perception of reality. Another powerful theme in her work is identity. Many of her characters struggle to understand who they truly are. They compare themselves to others, hide parts of themselves, or become trapped by expectations. These psychological struggles deepen the emotional atmosphere. Interestingly, du Maurier rarely needed traditional monsters. Her horror often comes from ambiguity. The suggestion that something isn't right, that something unseen may be watching. The uncertainty itself becomes terrifying. In Rebecca, the first Mrs. de Winter is dead before the story begins. Yet she dominates every page. Through memory and atmosphere, du Maurier makes Rebecca feel more present than many living characters. That's extraordinary storytelling. Du Maurier knew that locations influence emotions. A house can feel welcoming or threatening. A landscape can create freedom or isolation. Her settings reflect the psychological state of her characters. Readers remember du Maurier because her stories feel real, not because of realism alone, but because the emotional atmosphere feels authentic. The fear feels real, the longing feels real, the loneliness feels real. If you want to write atmosphere like du Maurier, treat setting like a character. Use sensory details constantly. Build mood before action. Let landscapes reflect emotions. Create mystery through suggestion, not explanation. Atmosphere isn't decoration, it's storytelling. Many writers focused on plot. Others focused on characters. Du Maurier mastered the space between them. She created worlds that felt alive. Worlds readers could enter, and never completely leave behind. Nearly a century later, her novels continue to inspire writers around the world. Because great atmosphere never goes out of style, readers still crave stories that make them feel transported. And few authors accomplished that better than Daphne du Maurier. Daphne du Maurier wasn't simply a novelist. She was an architect of emotion, a creator of haunting worlds, a master of atmosphere. And through her stories, she proved that sometimes the most powerful character in a novel isn't a person. It's the feeling that surrounds them. If you want more storytelling breakdowns, writing techniques, and literary deep dives, subscribe, because the greatest writers don't just tell stories. They create worlds readers never want to leave.